Dear students, in this module, we are going to talk about the sociological perspectives on education. What sociology or what sociologists or sociological thinkers are saying with which lens they are viewing the education system. Usually, we take education in the very positive sense. But if you are a sociologist, rather, if you are a critical thinker, you might be uh, in a perplexity that how we should take education, whether it is beneficial for our society or it is creating certain inequalities in our society. So let's first talk about education from the functionalist perspective, that the children must learn the knowledge and skills they need as adult. So these skills are obligatory to be learned by becoming part of the society. And education generates new knowledge, which is useful in adapting to the changing conditions of the society. Because as you know that societies are always in the process of social change, so they are not stagnant. So in order to be familiar with these changes, we need new knowledge and new skills so that we could have a smooth functioning in the society. So education serves to produce a society of individuals who share the common national identity. So in order to produce that homogeneity that can work in the harmony with the other people within a certain society, we need to impart that sense of common identity among the citizens. And to impart that common identity, the education system helps you out. So the schools foster the social integration and national unity by teaching a core set of skills and values. It means that the role of school or schooling is fundamental in producing those kinds of norms and values not only in yourself but also in your surrounding, which could help us to think about the social integration that we need to be adjusted in the society rather than to be in a constant conflict with the society. So that national unity can only be produced through the process of formal education system. So for the societies to survive, they must pass on core values of their culture from one generation to another generation. And societies use education to support their community's social and political system. So it means that the ultimate purpose is to make you people more functional, more productive, and uh, more ordered in the social system. The education screens and selects the members of society for the work they will do as adults. In other words, the, that education system imparts you with those technical skills as well as those professional skills which are required in the society for the better functioning of the society. So the schools in the industrialized countries identify students who show special talents and abilities at an early age. So you find that the special talents are especially highlighted as the child prodigies or the child stars, just like Arfa Karim, as you know, the very popular name in Pakistan. So even in the especially in the industrialized countries, such children are given very particular importance because of having special abilities, special brain skills, and due to that, those children are particularly trained for better functioning in the society. So they can become more productive. They can produce a lot more good for the whole of the society. So that was the functionalist view where you find that everything is going pretty much good, pretty much smooth, and pretty much in orderly manner, and where the ultimate goal is to produce social harmony in the society. Whereas we have a difference of opinion among sociologists, and one of the different opinion rather a contradictory opinion is coming from the conflict perspective. For the proponents of conflict perspective, like of Karl Marx, education serves to sort the students into social rankings and to limit the potential of certain individuals and groups to gain power and social rewards. So, this is an interesting perspective which says that indeed education is not preparing everyone for the equal positions. Education is not giving an equal opportunity for everyone. Rather, education creates inequalities. It produces disparities among different segments of society. How? By putting you in a competitive environment where all the people are considered equal, which is not the case indeed. For example, some people might be good in mathematics, the other person might be good in communication, and the third one might be good with the calligraphy or maybe with the painting. But all are considered having the homogeneous potentials, and based on which all are being put into the same public education system where their skills are not given importance. Rather, the curriculum, which is the standard, which is the universal, is given the importance, and based on that curriculum, everyone is being socialized and imparted those technical skills. So, students' achievement or failure tend to reflect the existing inequalities indeed. This is another interesting aspect of this perspective, that children who are going to the school are considered equal, which is not the case indeed. A male can be different than a female in their brain skills, and a a student who is coming from a poor family can be different than the student who is coming from a relatively higher status or higher class family. So the skills of those students based on their background can be different. And so the inequalities are inherent in the system, which are continuing throughout the education system after that. Even when you come to the university, for example, you are being treated equally, or you're supposed to be treated equally. However, the background education of each of you is pretty much different. Those who have been trained in the elite schools are having much better communication skills as compared to those who are being trained in the public education institutions. So they are the conflict theorists are pretty much critical of the tracking system. It means that this our examination system, it involves the assignment of students to different types of educational programs. So classroom instructions used in different tracks serve to reproduce the status quo indeed. For example, if you can afford, you can go into any educational institution. And if you cannot afford, unfortunately, you have the limited choices. So those who can afford can get the better education and can get the further higher status in the society. So it reinforces the status quo as compared to that its intended objective. And what is the intended objective of education? Education's intended objective is equality for all, but unfortunately, as per conflict perspective, it is not achievable. So opportunities for educational success are distributed unequally then, and students of higher status institutions have the privilege over the students of lower status educational institution. And schools produce the unquestioning citizens who accept the basic inequalities of the social system. So this is another unfortunate aspect of especially of our schooling system, that we focus more on the rote memorization than to produce the inquisitive mind with the abilities to think, with the abilities to question. Because if the students start questioning, the teacher need to be well versed in that particular field, and if the teacher is not pretty much trained, it means that or she can shut the student's mouth as soon as he starts questioning through by the authority. So by the passage of time, student would learn to not to question, which is very unfortunate. So overall, the conflict perspective would say that this education system inherently produces the inequalities. A hidden curriculum is another aspect of this education system, which means that the school's transmission of cultural goals that are not openly acknowledged. And it is observed that curriculum or the syllabi are mostly talking about the elite culture or is promoting the elite cultural values. For example, you need to obey the authority and you need not to question the authority. And one of the aspect is that we always take for granted whatever the authority is saying, whether it is right or wrong. So that becomes problematic for the in order to set our standards for the justice and equality. Here is the glimpse of, or rather a satirical glimpse of our education system, where for a fair selection everybody has to take the same exam, so please climb that tree. So if we extrapolate this example on our own society, we would come to know that some people are having the potential or the skills to climb the tree while others are not. So they have the different skills for which, however, the exam or the standard is considering them as equal to the other animals, which is not the case. And then we have the interactionist perspective, which is commonly known as symbolic interactionism. It says that the student and teacher's interaction is pretty much important, rather a decisive factor in the education system. When students are labeled as fast learners or slow learners without any data, eventually took on the characteristics of that label. It means that labeling or pointing out the students is very important. For example, if a student is being labeled as lazy, or maybe he does not like to study, he or she after some time would adopt that label and would tend to behave according to his label. And to the contrary, those students who are being labeled as hard worker, intelligent, or working on time, rather very punctual, so those students are more likely to carry with that label, and rather they would work hard and make efforts to continue with that label. So labeling, according to interactionist perspective, becomes very important in deciding about to what direction a student is gonna go. It is called a self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy is a prediction that leads to the behavior that makes the prediction come true. It means that if I am making a claim and I am trying to justify that claim, it is not that the independent evidence is gonna decide about my claim. Rather, my own justifications would be justifying my claim. Or in other words, I would be collecting the evidences which could support my own claim. So when the teachers treat the students as if they are bright and capable, and the students begin to think of themselves in this way, so they would be working on to fulfill that prophecy. In other words, if your teacher labels you that you are an intelligent guy, you are more likely to carry that label, and you are more likely to work hard to prove that, okay, I am the intelligent person. So here is the glimpse of this theory of self-fulfilling prophecy, that the student tend to accept the labels. As you can see that at the top are the teacher's expectations, and then the teacher communicates these expectations to the students, that maybe they praise the students or they criticize the student, and based on those labels the student's performance is affected. And if that trend continues, the student performs worse and student accepts the label as low achiever. On the other hand, if the student is being praised, the student's performance gets better and student accepts the label as high achiever. And this trend continues from the symbolic interactionist perspective.